So, I got to thinking, I don't know why. I'm watching Last Man Standing because I needed a break from binge watching my wedding shows. But I got to thinking, I don't know what, I've been thinking a lot lately about like the type of shows and content that used to exist when I was younger versus the shows and content that exist today. And maybe it's because I'm raising 6 kids, so like I have a 10 and 11-year-old, a 5 and a 6-year-old, and a 2-year-old, and an infant, and I see how different the world looks than it did when I was younger, to how different it looks for my 2 that are 10 and 11 than it looks for my 2 that are 5 and 6, and so on and so forth. And the whole mental health struggle thing, right, with wanting to be relatable to kids, obviously that is a great thing. We don't want any kid to feel alone no matter what it is that they're going through, and it's great that as a society we've created entertainment that is more relatable to them. You know, they don't only have shows with perfect families to watch and, you know, wish that theirs was, if there are situations. But I do think that we have created way more of like a survival guide than we have of a manual. In that I think that our world has done so well with staying current and relevant, but we've done really poorly at continuing to show the next generation, I don't want to say how to fix it, because it's not their job to fix it, but how to build a life better than the stuff that they're going through. Like, I can't minimize my camera and pull up my post, otherwise I would read it word for word. But at the end of my post, it said something like, we do a great job of teaching our kids how to survive life, but we don't do a great job of teaching them how to build a life that they don't have to just survive. And yeah, you know, the whole I am woman, hear me roar thing is great and necessary. But not so much so that they think their only option is to grow up tough as a stone. Like, that's their only option. Like, you have to let 98% of the world roll off your shoulders. When in reality, we can still help them learn how to build a life that is just like a constant vacation. And I feel like we, as adults, we really need to... I'm so guilty of this, so, like, I'm not trying to call the kettle black here. But as an adult, it is our responsibility to make sure that the things that we talk about that are very broken, we talk about as far from their listening ears as possible. Yes, it's great that we're involved in problem solving, and yes, there will never be a lack of problems to solve. And yes, they happen all the time. They don't just happen after bedtime. They don't just happen in the morning. They don't just happen in text conversations. There's a lot of scenarios in which it will be in front of their face, but for the most part, as parents, as adults, we can try a lot harder not to do it directly in front of them if we can help it. And I think that that's a step, because as parents, as adults, we don't realize that the things that we do that we need to, that are necessary, that are strong, that are right, our kids see that stuff out of context. They don't see that it was once good. They don't see that we understand what went wrong and we fix that moving forward. All they see is our emotional reactions to life out of context. And if that's all they see, then that's all they know. All they know is the parts of life that we handle by just surviving. All they know are the parts of life that we have to keep fighting against. We need to do a lot better job of showing them the easy parts. We need to do a much better job of showing them the fun parts the exciting parts, the happy parts, the parts that I think while we're experiencing we take for granted because we don't make them a big deal. We don't make happy as big a deal as we always make struggle. And that's a choice. That's a choice. And it'll probably be healthier for us in the end to make a much bigger deal out of happy than we do out of struggle. Everyone's going to struggle. But I think you can definitely make a conscious effort to be like, this thing that we've been struggling with lately has made more of a negative energy build up in our house than not. How do we do something positive on purpose to balance the scales? So that instead of just sitting back and praying that chaos is calm, you celebrate the fact that chaos is absent. And if we do a better job of making those happy, positive, good moments louder, then it's possible that the moments of struggle will just automatically get quieter. But we have to choose to do that. You have to choose to put more effort into positive than your life is demanding that you put into negative. And that's the other thing. It's like, I'm not saying check yourself in the negative struggles of life. But if you know the negative struggles of life have gotten the better of you for a while or a little consistently or too much than you'd like, purposefully make positive situations stand out. So that no matter what the struggle looks like, how big, how small, how loud, how inconvenient the struggles look like, because they will always be there, you just kind of got to make sure that you're doing the same with the positives. You're making a point to make positive situations loud too. You're making a point to make positive situations just as important as the stressful situations that you have to take when they happen. Because man, I hear my kids say, I'm not going to have more than one kid. I mean, there's 6 of them. They're going to grow up going, I don't know if I want to have a big family because I came from a big family, which is funny because me and my fiance was an only child. I was an only child for many years. I have a stepbrother and a half-brother, but I still kind of feel like, I'm the oldest, and I'm the oldest of all my siblings, but I don't have the feeling of being the oldest of all my siblings like the oldest of my kids feels. We both grew up playing majorly with cousins, so like having a big family is awesome because we feel like they all have built-in best friends, but they may not view it the same because they're growing up in the opposite, thing of life. I hear them say, my fiance didn't really get it at first, a couple years ago. He worked for Target for 10 years, and towards the end of working for Target, it was kind of crazy and negative, and then he got a new job, and that new job has been great, but and I'm not calling Target out, but he'd hear the kids say, when I grow up, I want to work at Target. And he'd be like, oh man, strive for more than that. And I kind of took him to the side one day, and I was like, you do realize why they say they want to work for Target when they grow up? Like, they say they want to work for Target when they grow up because they see how hard you work. It's not working for Target that they want to do. It's doing what you do that they want to do. And the way that you do it. It has nothing to do with their top priority is being a Target employee. Their top priority is being you. But you make working so appealing to them in the way that you do it that they have a higher idea of Target in general because they see how hard you work. And I think it's funny because our kids will grow up to know the world as they see our part in it. that's their first view of the outside world. Their first view of the outside world is the part that we have in it. And shit happens. Life happens. Shit happens. Lots of shit doesn't go away. It sticks around incessantly like a disease. And we constantly have to deal with it. We constantly have to deal with it, and we constantly have to put up with it, and we constantly have to meet it head on. And it's negative a lot of the time. But we do have control over putting positive out there. And if we're just constantly reacting instead of responding, if we're never balancing the scale, it makes life look terrifying to a child. It makes it look hard. And if they think life is just always hard, they're going to expect life to be hard. And I know we would all love to be able to make life look easy so that but I mean, that doesn't work either. You know what I mean? Millionaires, they make their lives look easier, and their kids grow up thinking life is always easy, and they don't understand how to handle any of it. So both extremes are, bad in their own ways, but balance. And man, if we can teach our kids how to balance life before they leave our home and do it on their own, they are so much better off. So much more likely to not end up in a lot of really horrible spots in life. If there's one thing we could teach them before they leave home, if we could teach them how to balance, if we could show them how to create balance, man, that in itself could do wonders. So don't just teach your kids how to survive. Don't just teach them how to get what they want selfishly either. Teach them that if something negative happens, let's try to make something positive happen too. And create balance. And show them that every negative thing is not something that will always knock you down. And that creating positive things help the negative things seem not so big, not so loud. I don't know. There's my ramble for the day.